Oh, yes, legends. Man, the microphone was not connecting. How is everybody doing? Let's analyze the situation here for the price of Bitcoin. And let's see what is going on, legends. Let's see if this is, there we go. We are here. We are back. Legends, hope you're doing absolutely fantastic. Man, I was really struggling here with the microphone. It wasn't connecting. We always have some technical issues, right? When we're doing the live streams. Always something has to happen at the beginning. Anyway, let's say hello to the beautiful community and see what's going on, legends, because yes, we got this range, which is incredibly confusing, and we're going to discuss. It does look more part of a corrective structure. If you ask me, what is this range forming eventually? You know, you could just go with the easy technical analysis. It's a descending wedge that's going to end up breaking to the upside, right? In simple technical matter, right, you would say that, you know, it's just looking like a wedge, and it's going to pop out. And I have to say, we're going to be discussing that today, the movement down from this pivot high, right? We are going to dig in here through the 15-minute, 5-minute time frame. Take a look at, you know, CVD. Take a look at the delta. Are there more shorts piling up? The liquidity. Eventually, we do have that nice stack of liquidity above $94,000, which is good, right? It's giving us some reasons to believe that we could squeeze out to the upside. But what I am interested in is in this movement to the upside and this movement to the downside, okay? The 1 hourly, the 4 hourly, it is pretty clear what we're looking for, all right? 1 hourly is pretty interesting. There are a couple of scenarios, but this is the best moment, guys. When there's a range, as explained, I haven't been in a trade in the last 2 days. I want to get into one eventually, but where we currently at, I'm not too of a fan of getting into a trade here right now when I don't have clarity on a trading plan, right? And that's how it should be, right? As traders, if you don't see clarity, you just wait for clarity, right? Because clarity will come. So I know a lot of people want some action, but, you know, the ones that want a bit of action and they want to see, you know, what's going to happen up or down locally, you know, might as well just go to the casino because, you know, I think this is one of the zones that, you know, I would arguably discuss. It's not as easy. We can talk about some levels, internal levels. If the price moves down, moves up, we did get a nice little bounce from, you know, a naked point of control. It's always acceptable to get into one of these trade setups. Okay, there's a high volume node right over here that actually got a bounce, a naked point of control in this region. Hang on a minute, because we're going to go to Coinbase here. We're going to go to Coinbase and we're going to take a look here at this session volume profile, which is where we have the highest volume node of this zone, okay, of this pump here that we had on Tuesday. And that highest volume node from Tuesday did get a reaction bounce yesterday on the drop, exactly to that point of control as we were sweeping, you know, one higher low right there. We got two higher lows. You know, I would class this as an aggressive sniper trade long, guys. You know, when you're in a range, when you start, you know, moving down of the range, it either breaks. Of course, you have that inefficiency right over here, which, You just want to be careful if you want to be catching these wicks to the downside, and make sure to take some profit on the bounce back up, because, you know, as explained like last week, you have that fair value gap. Guys, if we break from here, we are probably going to fly up a few $1,000s, and that's what happened, right? So eventually nothing has changed on this range where, you know, this zone, there's poor volume in this area, right? There's no proper major support in this zone, right? And, you know, the danger always, if you are looking to long, you just need to be aware that this could break down, right? We'll talk about shorts, we'll talk about longs. There's a big gap of volume here. When you take the volume profile from the last 2 weeks, right? Let me know if you can hear me, guys, if you can see me, because I've had some technical issues today, right? We'll break a few things down, guys. We're going to talk about levels for those aggressive scalpers, because yesterday we could have talked about that naked point of control in this region. You know, it's an acceptable scalp scenario. You know, you get a pump of $1,000. Yeah, you can make some gains like that, you know, all depending on your trading style. I'm more interested in bigger movements, okay? Trying to, you know, get into bigger movements, such as, you know, this movement down, this movement down, this movement to the upside. Obviously, if we can detect if this is corrective at levels of support, you know, look for that big move up. You know, I would be very interested in trying to get into this movement to the upside if we do see some support, and we can analyze that it is a corrective structure. But in this zone, I know it's boring, guys. You know, it's kind of boring. Yeah, you know, no volatility. But we can get some plans ready, and that's why we're here, right? We can analyze a few movements that could develop, and one of them is going to happen, right? The question is which one. All right, so anyway, going with this point based on volume, right? We've been talking about this throughout last week, guys. Be careful, fair value gap. You can drop down here very aggressively. Same scenario here also at the beginning of the week. Be careful here, because, you know, there's no volume, there's no resistance. What happens when there's no resistance? Well, the price action just, you know, breaks through very successfully, right? There's just no supply, no demand, no, you know, no order blocks, no point of controls, no nothing. And what happens when there's no support or resistance? You just break through, legends, right? So this still continues to be a danger zone. Of course, it is an area where the price could bounce, right? The fair value gap is always a level where the price could definitely get a bounce. If not, it breaks, and if not, it actually holds as support and you get the bounce. There's just no volume, as you can see here on the volume profile. So it's a zone that we want to be cautious. You know, if you're looking to get into any longs here, we're going to break down a few of the scenarios, okay? We'll be breaking down a few of the scenarios here on the 1 hourly and the 15 minute, okay? We don't need to go through the 4 hourly, right? The speculation here is this a 3-wave structure in a corrective move. And we just roll down throughout the next couple of weeks to claim below $80,000, right? That's for the moment, it is the leading scenario, just because we are still downtrending. We don't have clarity here if this is going to be a double 1, 2, 3 breakout. We don't have clarity. So we're labeling this as a potential 3-wave structure to roll over, or, you know, double 1, 2. And if it is going to be a double 1, 2, we would want to see a bit more of a pullback, if I'm honest with you, right? Wave 2s usually get to 50% golden pocket, right? At a bare minimum, the 382 Fibonacci, right? Shallow pullbacks for wave 2s, not very common at all. And for the moment, from this pivot low to the pivot high, this is a very shallow pullback. If we were to move to the upside from here, I would definitely count on the possibility of a rejection, because there is a double zigzag scenario here that could be interesting, even though you're wave X. And just, you know, if this is a WXY, I want to let you know that, you know, if you do hit the you know, below the golden pocket from your, you know, your wave W, it decreases the probability to get a double zigzag. So, I mean, yeah, this zone is like, let's just get the dump already, right? Let's just dump. It's a three-wave structure. There's no more to it. It's a bear flag, right? Let's just get the rollover already, right? And keep it nice and simple. Well, it's not that simple, right? Because the movement down is extremely choppy and it really does look quite corrective. And we don't like that, right? I don't like that. If I'm going to feel bearish in a three-wave move down, this movement to the downside is looking quite corrective. So, there's nothing quite impulsive from here. Multiple 1-2s. We're going to break that down on the 15-minute. So it's a little bit of an interesting range. We need to talk about the levels of resistance and support and the Elliot wave scenarios that I would like the price to structure in the next coming days to then have the highest probability trading setup, right? There's no rush, guys. What is most important for me in my trading is to protect capital and not get into any trade if you don't have a plan and you don't have clarity, which does happen, right? Does happen sometimes. And this is one of those moments that, the last 2 days has been a little bit of I kind of don't want to do anything here, right? And sometimes it's good, guys. Sometimes it's good just to sit on your hands, right? Sometimes in your, trading is all about waiting for clarity. Anyway, Simple 3 Jack, how are you doing? Hello, everyone. Tiramisu, much love. Umai, hello, Andy. Tiramisu, much love. What needs to happen with BTC to consider this become a bear market? I mean, bear market, bull market on the higher time frame. We I would consider that we still, we still could be uptrending. Still could be uptrending. If you ask me about this bear market, bull market, if you're considering the 4-year cycle theory, then bear market, right? We're not here. Could it be different? There's so much speculation out there. We broke the 50 weekly moving average. We dropped down over 20-30%. Was it 20%? 30%? Oh, 4-year cycle theory, then it's bear market. Well, this time a lot of people are saying that no, it's not 4-year. I don't give a damn, right? I'm just interested in selling high and buying low. And obviously, right now I'm more interested in trading locally, right? I want to get into some trades so I can make some gains. So spot portfolio is for the long term. But yeah, we're going to break down here 1 hourly and 15-minute, okay, guys, and come to the conclusion on a few plans. Give the levels of support here, the most interesting levels of support and resistance that we do have on the chart, all right, to consider for the next coming days, and just trade accordingly, right? First of all, no financial advice, guys. Muy importante for me to say this. Okay, disclaimer, make sure to be aware. This is no financial advice, just educational content. It's my opinion. You get the deal, right? Let's go through comment section, say hello to the rest of the people. And we're going to start off, guys. It is Friday. Make sure to enjoy Friday, the weekend. Spend time with family and friends and stay safe, right? Don't get into any trades if you don't have clarity, which is currently what's happening to me at the moment, right? There's no clarity, right? You want clarity on the chart to take a position, all right? And I'm going to explain a few scenarios that I am interested in. A few ways on how the price could develop. This is what we try to do here on YouTube, how the price could develop. There's only certain ways that the price could develop. There's not 1,000 ways. The market moves in patterns, it moves in waves, and you can detect the confluence zones, Fibonacci zones to have a high probability setup. It always works like that, guys. It's always like that, and we are not too bad in detecting those scenarios, right? We don't do too bad at all. So yeah, we'll break down a few of the scenarios. Simon Jones, sup Andy, smash the like button. One of the best crypto guys in the space. Absolute legend, Simon. Much love to you, brother. Hope you're doing well in the UK. Hope it's not raining too much and it's not too cold. Much love to you, my man. Okay, Umaki, bearish till we take out the lows at 80k. Yeah, I have to say, well, the bulls have a chance, okay? They have a chance let's be honest, the trend is down, and every bounce that we've got from all-time high has been three wavy, right? This one still, this could be the high. So we obviously giving priority to the downtrend. We're just giving priority. There's nothing bullish about this, as in, you know, confident that this is going to be bullish. We could detect that in the next coming days. We could detect if this momentum to the upside could be bullish, okay? And it's extremely important that we form a higher low in this region if it is going to be a multiple 1-2. For all of the bulls out there saying, you know, that this is the low, there's no other way here, unfortunately, because what is clear for me, that this movement to the upside is an impulse, okay? If this movement to the upside is an impulsive move, a flat here is not possible. If this is your wave 1 to the upside, right? Wave 1, this is your wave 2. If this is going to be bullish coming into the next 1 to 2 weeks, we need to form a higher low from 83,800. It just needs to, because if you take out that low, you have extreme high probability that you're just going to take out $80,000, because your only solution here, okay, would be a flat. However, a flat right over here, A wave, B wave. Well, we can't have a B wave here because this, I'm telling you already, has extreme high probability in being an impulse. If you want to count this as a three-wave structure, I don't think so. This is like a classic textbook impulsive move to the upside. All right. So if you were to come down here, we need that information. We need some information here to actually say, guys, you know what? This is looking corrective. The potential here of forming a multiple 1-2 is definitely there. And, you know, we just need a, I was going to say long altogether, right? Let's all make some money, but I can't say that, guys. We're on YouTube and I'm no financial advisor, okay? I want to long aggressively. I have to say, I want to long aggressively. And there will be hints of detecting if the movement down is going to be corrective, right? The problem is that we need that move down, and that's why we need to break down. So the 15-minute time frame. But yeah, the most bullish case scenario is the double 1-2. Double 1-2 to the upside, which is right over here, right? Double 1-2 scenario, regardless if this being the high or not. And if you have a double 1-2, you know, we're looking for a very, very big move in the next coming weeks, okay? However, it needs to form a higher low. It needs to form a higher low. Anybody that is speculating on the bullish case, you know, needs to understand that a wave 2, right? A wave 2, first of all, it's common that it gets down to at least 50%. At a bare minimum, the 382 Fibonacci, which we are not far away. We are not far away from the 382 Fibonacci. Let me know if I'm in the middle here, guys, because I'll make myself smaller. So this correction is very, very shallow. Let's talk about bullish case, right? Even though bearish scenarios have priority on the higher time frame. But anyway, let's just speculate a little bit on the bullish case scenario, right? Here on the 1 hourly. You know, at a bare minimum, you want to hit the 382, right? This would be too shallow to consider it a second wave 2. Right, a 1-2, 1-2. You know, you at least want to get a, 382 at a bare minimum touched, because it's just uncommon. It's very, very uncommon to form a wave 2, at the 236 Fibonacci in the bullish case, right? We're talking about bullish scenarios. There is bearish scenarios that breaks down. Now, as a lot of people have knowledge as well on Elliott wave theory, you know, maybe a lot of people would be wanting a larger pullback into big support zones, which we do have some naked point of controls in this zone right over here. Okay, fair value gap is the danger zone. Okay, let's just break down a little bit of the plan here for the bullish case. Fair value gap, guys, we know that this is danger zone. This is zone of, yeah, we don't want to do anything here. I mean, I do not want to do anything, right? I don't want to do anything. And there's a simple explanation why. This is the same thing as we did here, right? We don't want to do anything here, guys, at this fair value gap. Same, you know, at the beginning of the week, we don't want to do anything. If we break this lower high right there that we had in this zone, you don't want to get into shorts, right? I don't want to get into shorts here. And if it breaks with volume, just let it go. It's going to get exhausted at some point, which is what's happened throughout the last few days, right? And that's when you want to speculate on the reversal. This is the same thing, right? Even though we don't have clarity here, I can analyze the levels and I can analyze, you know, the zones of interest where I do see the price getting support or resistance to either take a long or take a short, right? That's even though I don't like this zone and I'm not, you know, interested in participating here, there will be a moment that we're going to get down or we're going to get up. And that is the moment that I'm going to analyze how we moved, right, into these levels, either of support or resistance, and then take that decision depending on how the price action reacts at this area. So for me, I have to say this is a no trade zone. If you ask me why, you know, it's pretty simple. There's no volume here, guys. Right? There's no volume. You know, I would not want to take a long in this zone. It is acceptable for me to say, right, there is one interesting pivot here on the 1 hourly, which is that higher low, right? Similar scenario. This is the guideline, guys. Remember, we talk about guidelines here to take decisions. If you break that guideline, you know, I'm not interested. You know, there's no way I'm going to be looking for longs in this zone. It's either going to be here with a SFP fake out, which is in confluence with the 382 Fibonacci, guys. And this is only trade management, right? I'm only managing my trade here. If we lose it, you know, if I'm in a long position, I'm going to get out quick. I'm going to get out, right? Because there's two options here. This area, you know, it gets a little bit of a reaction and it holds. And then the price starts moving up here throughout the next coming days after testing this zone. What is interesting, it is the 382, right? Fibonacci from the pivot low of Monday at 83.5 to the highs at 94.1. That is an interesting area where the price could bounce. If it does not bounce, I would expect a major move down of, you know, at least $2,000-$3,000. Fair value gap, no volume at all, right? When we do take a look at the volume profile of the range of the last 2-3 weeks, there's just no volume, right? There's no volume. And we can see when there's no volume what the price action does. It just flies or dumps. Right? The same thing here, guys. This is a dangerous area. So you just need management here, right? Because what the price has potential of is coming to that first higher low from the pump right there, hits the 382. You know, it gets a dump, it gets a reaction, and then, you know, it starts pumping to the upside throughout next week, right? Give or take. I was scared because, you know, I was aware that this, you know, we could dump. You know, if you're scared, obviously you're risking too much. That's what I always say. If you're scared of taking a position, it's because you're going a little bit over leveraged, a little bit too much of capital. You know, if you go with $10, I can tell you, you know, you'll be happy to hold. And don't care. You know, you might go up here and you make $30. You're like, oh, you know, that was actually good. it's all about, you know, your management of the capital that you're risking here. But this is an interesting zone. It either loses it or it bounces. $90,200 is a zone that I am interested in the short term. And it's simple. If you lose this level, you don't reclaim it. If I'm in a long, I'll be out very, very quick before I get wrecked, right? In the case of many people that would just want to, you know, saying that this is a bull flag and, you know, I'm just going to long the support. And then the price just moves down. This ends up being a multiple 1-2 that is just breaking down in a third wave, right? It's just like this scenario. You got a big move down. You start getting a bounce. Yeah, this is a bear flag, right? It's going to move down. Well, I don't think so, right? Short has got wrecked here if they don't know the levels and where to participate or not, which we were very much aware here on Monday. We talked about this level Monday or Tuesday, saying, guys, stay away if you get back above here 87.7. That's your limit zone for the price to reject. Okay, so it's very, very important, guys, to understand, you know, where you do not want to participate, because that's the, you know, if you ask me, right, nobody knows what the heck's going to happen, but we can build up some scenarios, right? I know a lot of you might look at the chart and think, I don't know what the heck is going to happen. I don't know where to position. I don't know how to create a plan. Let me tell you one thing, you know, this is a zone that you would not be interested in getting into a long, right? First off. And we've been proven throughout the last 7 days that it's not a good area. Yes, it is okay to get to the limit of the fair value gap because you did get supported. Look at this. You got supported here, right there. You got this first higher low after the pump. You got the 382 from the move up. It is a zone that could hold if it is tested. And, you know, that's a scenario that you could get positioned on. If you come down and hit the low, I'm going to give a chance that all of this is a complex correction. You know, there is that chance of this to be a complex corrective move. It could be a double zigzag move down. Okay, so yeah, I mean, the scenario here is simple. In this getting out of the box here, getting out of the zone, you come down, get a reaction. If you do maintain above that zone, there's two options. You move up or you move down. You got a tight stop loss because you don't want to be participating in that long. And this has the potential of saying, okay, we claim that liquidity. We got a reaction. Now it's going to start building up to the upside to claim the highs. So that would be the best zone to take the decision. If you lose 90,150, right, 200 give or take, a few dollars, you just don't want to be in. Yeah, I would not want to be in a long, right? Could it be that you just wick down here and then recover? I mean, you could, but you know, there's no plan for me anyway here in this zone. Now, if the price does break down very aggressively, okay, there is some very, very interesting areas and scenarios that, you know, could happen. Taking out this multiple 1-2 scenario, right? This is a zone that I'm not interested, as explained. This is where we got some stuff here, right? Let's just call it stuff. We got some price action. That's where we can have some levels of support. We can have some naked point of controls, which we do. There is a few naked point of controls. If you do get the session volume profile on those days from Monday and Tuesday, you got some high volume nodes that are looking very, very interesting. And that gives us a few levels, a few naked point of controls. This zone, if we were to break down, we are speculating right now, guys, okay? But it's the zones of interest that we are talking about. Okay, if we move lower, where we need to hold, that's a decision area. This is a decision area at 90,200. It's a decision area. You either break it or you bounce. If you break it, you know, what we could expect, what's happened in the past. Big move up, big move down. So if we do get that big move down, I understand that, this could definitely be a build-up of multiple 1-2s. Even though they're not too sexy, but I'll have to acknowledge that it is the case if we get a big move down with high volume. What happens when you have this build-up and then a big move down? I can explain you what happens with this price action. There will be a moment when you build up and get the big move. You don't need to be in a rush to jump into shorts here. The price will slow down. The price will slow down. So you got that build up here, the big move with high volume, and then the price slowing down eventually. Where could the price slow down? Well, look no further. It's at the range here where we have naked point of controls. Let's get that anchored VWAP from the low, because I haven't checked that, but it's going to be looking pretty interesting. Because anchored VWAP is slightly above. Not really interested in this anchored VWAP from the low. It's been violated already. A bit too much here. Only zones of interest for me is where we have this cluster with naked point of controls, or the 382 with that higher low, guys. In this box, I would know this is management, guys. This is where you manage your trade. All right. We ain't here to say it's going to break out, it's going to go to 80K, it's going to do this, right? Trying to get these random predictions. We are level to level traders, and we understand projections that could happen. Could this have the potential of faking out from this level and then go to plus 98, 94K? Absolutely. It has the potential. It could be a shallow 1-2, 1-2, boom, and then everybody's surprised next week to say, holy smokes, we go into 94, 95. What happened? Well, this would be a decision area, guys, right? A lot of people say, is it bearish? Is it bullish? We are level to level traders, guys. We are reactionary traders, and that's the only way to do it. So this is a zone of interest for me. 90,200. We break down from this level. Chill out, chillax. I do not want to participate here, just like I did not want to participate in shorts anywhere in this zone, as explained on Monday or Tuesday it was, right? This is the breakout happened, throughout Tuesday. So we're just going to have to wait for the price to come down into the levels of support, which is the naked point controls, right? From this consolidation between Monday and Tuesday. That is the moment eventually, right? As you can see here, boom, 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 big breakout, bang, 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 reversing. So this would be the same scenario, moving down, a couple of 1-2s, big breakdown, and then you start getting exhausted at support. It's very, very common to chop the lows. What happens when people want to short in this zone? It chops the highs, it chops them, and then it gets the reversal, right? So it gets all of those aggressive high leverage traders that are risking too much, and it chops you out. It's what happens all the time. So, you need to think in advance of, okay, should I just instantly jump into a falling knife catch here? I prefer not to, right? I prefer not to. I understand how the price could move, and if this were to be multiple 1-2s break down, I understand that we could chop down here to this zone. This would still be coming down to the limit area to form the bullish case scenario, which is 1-2, 1-2, and we finally get supported here, and we start rallying here in a wave 3, mid-December. It's a scenario that could happen, right? There is a bullish scenario and we always need to consider. We're going to consider the bearish scenarios, which I kind of prefer, guys, but we just need to understand, we need to be adaptive, right? I need to adapt to the information that the chart is giving me here. Now, obviously this would be this would be impulsive, right? So I would speculate eventually if you move down here, this would be a pretty clear impulsive move down. So believing that we're going to rally from here, you know, I would expect more of a corrective bounce that fails, because if you have an impulsive move down, okay, but there will be a zone to long. Basically, we could long here eventually just for a few $1,000s to the upside, but I think it's a zone that you just need to be patient. It's choppiness, you know, you're looking for the double, triple bottom at this zone. Once you get that information where you've tested the lows 1, 2, you could look for a third time. This is exactly what we talked about here, okay, on Monday. We talked about a local double bottom, guys. If we test the lows again, the probabilities in breaking down here are very, very low. Who remembers that, guys? Were you here on the live stream? And I'm sure, actually, I did get some DMs of people longing down here at 94K. And this is literally this same explanation, right? You get that movement down, you move down with volume, and you chop. And when we were doing the stream on Monday, you know, my take here was, guys, we have low probability in breaking down aggressively from this point. And what would be common is look for that double bottom or triple bottom here. Test the lows and reclaim the lows again, and it gives you an entry with good risk management. You know, this explanation would be the same thing here. Of course, it would only at a bare minimum target sweep up the highs of the range, right? This is your first major target on the pump. Sweep up the lower highs of that grinding structure. This would be your first target as a TP if you're catching that double bottom. But this is how the market works. And, you know, we realize how the market works once you get more information to take those decision trades. And this is coming down to good levels of support. So, yeah, I mean, this would be the area where I would be interested in longing, okay? If you get a big volume breakdown and you're chopping. You know, there's a nice intraday setup here. You're likely going to get a bounce once you get that choppiness in this range. We need that choppiness eventually, right? To obviously detect it and saying, okay, guys, this is ready for the reversal, right? It's just like this movement up with that choppiness here. You know, the highest probability, even though if we take out the high again or not, guys, is reversing from this point, right? So this is what we would be looking for if the price breaks down. Wait for that exhaustion. There's no time for shorting down here already, right? We would be interested in internal longs. And because on the higher time frame, we do have 3 waves, we would be speculating, I would be speculating that if the price moves down like this, that this would be a wave 1. This movement down, just because on the higher time frame we got a 3-wave structure, yeah, I would be interested in getting into longs without a doubt here in this zone of support. But I would be more interested in really analyzing this bounce, and I would be, you know, very much interested in looking for shorts at the 50% to the 7-8 Fibonacci area. Of course, it's too much information here. We like speculating the waves that could happen next week, and we have time. I'm usually here every day analyzing the situation, so we ain't gonna talk about that now, but we're just talking about local scenarios that could happen. Bullish case scenario, very, very locally here, guys, is 90,200 holds, which is the 382 Fibonacci. Kind of fakes out, and it does hold. There's not enough selling pressure, and it does not fill the fair value gap that we have here. So that's one zone. If you break down with high volume, we're just going to remain patient till we get into this zone, because there will be a moment that if you break down, there will be that choppiness, there will be that reversal sign, and that's what we want to catch, just like the one we catched in this movement that gave us a present, right? This was a 3-wave move down in the end. So, it's good to long these zones. I would not count on this one moving up here if it does break down like this, because eventually you have a 3-wave move up and a very aggressive move to the downside. And I'm not counting in an A, B, C flat here, because the B wave needs to be a three-wave structure in a flat, right? Well, and B waves are three-wave, right? Are corrective structures. And this movement up looks very impulsive. So I wouldn't count on a flat here to then move up. You know, this would be a bad sign if we were to break down here, chop around the bounce. I would really speculate that there's a good chance it's going to lower high. And to, you know, just claim below $80,000. We'll get to that information once it happens, right? We'll get to that point. Now, right now, it's too speculative. The price could bounce from here, and all of this that we talked about is a bunch of nonsense. So, yeah, bullish scenarios. If we want to take out above 98K, I think it's pretty crucial that we actually hold 90,200, just because we have that fair value gap, low volume. So any reclaim of that level is going to be pretty interesting. Pretty interesting to speculate on along, as this could be corrective still. That would be the minimum scenario. Minimum target here for that wave 2. As explained, be careful in this box. Okay, this is management, pure management, guys. We know what has happened in between 87K and 90K. It's a $3,000 gap that there's no kind of good support. Yeah, of course we could go halfway and bounce, but you know, there's just really no unless you're long in the golden pocket or the 50%, right? Well, golden pocket's already coming down to this interesting area. This is a zone that I wouldn't do anything. Me personally, if you have a plan, then you know you can go ahead, but I would rather be patient. So those are the zones of interest. This is an interesting area. This is you need to manage risk very, very well, guys. You just need to be aware that if this is multiple 1-2s, you're going to break down. It's easy just for me to say I'm just not interested in being in any long position, and nobody can beat me at risk management, guys. Maybe some people, but if we do a risk management competition, I can tell you. And you know, risk management is what keeps you a sustainable long-term good trader. It's the absolute key. So interesting area. If you lose it, I don't want to be adding to longs or any of that BS. I would just be waiting for this area, and I know how the price could develop. If you move down very aggressively, you know, I'm looking for that choppiness here. Then I say, okay, there's a good chance that we're going to get some kind of a bounce here to sweep up all of these lower highs instead of breaking down successfully. So double, triple 1-2s, just like the ones that happened here, you know, are going to be very lucrative, at least for me, to take advantage of this high probability move. Bullish case scenarios. Let's break them down, legends. Let's break them down. Let's go quickly to the comment section. Say hello to the rest of the people. Hey, yo, let's go. Nico Soapy, how are you doing, my man? Much love to you, brother. Nice to see you. Hi, everyone. Hi, Andy. How are you doing, my man? Greetings from Sri Lanka. Delon. We are the reef, US dollar, tether, and waves, US dollar. Where are the reef, US dollar, and waves? Oh, where are the reef and US dollar on waves? I'm not sure. You're talking about those altcoins. We likely are not going to do them. We like to look for trades here. You move up or down. Thank you, Andy. Manuele. Yeah, it's funny, right? Up or down. Nobody knows. What I do know is, creating a plan and where the price should hold. Decision zone. I'm interested in longing. If you're beneath this level, I'm just not longing. You break down, I know how the price could react here at this, naked point of control zones. It's being at the right moment when you have a plan. Right? No, people forget about this short that we mentioned here, right? We talked about this could be the high. If you did not short that SFP right over here, you have an option of shorting the value area high, right? You know, this information, right? We need the information. When we got this movement up, I said openly on a Saturday update, this could be the high. Yeah, it could also not be the high. But I talked about exactly the zone where it needs to reject to form a lower high. Because if this has the potential to be the high, I know there is a potential of forming a lower high. And obviously the value area high is going to be your barrier. It's going to be your guideline. You get above value area high and you start trading here, at slightly higher levels. You don't want to be in the short because you're probably going to take out the high. Right? And you have guidance on the chart. There is guidance and scenarios. Check out the Saturday's update video. And then moving forward after this movement down, once we were getting this choppiness, check out the video on Monday. We were talking about there's low probability in moving down here. So, it makes sense to catch a double, triple bottom in this zone on these lows. Once you reclaim it, you reclaimed it, you got an entry, you got good risk management, you got a stop loss, you're looking at least to sweep up the highs. This information is given, right? And, you can check the videos, guys. There's no sugarcoating. I have to be honest, in this zone, obviously we talked about this level as well, no trade zone. We broke up, guys. Stay away of being in a short anyway in this zone. We talked about the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If it doesn't happen, this is the moment that, if you don't reject at a certain point, we talked about that level, we just blasted through. So you just don't want to be in that short because this has the potential of being a three-wave move down. And we just don't know how high we can go if you break this level. Right, so it is true that in the last few 2 days, I would say, I don't have anything too clear in this zone. It is boring price action, and boring price action just makes you plan the potential movements, right? Which is what we're doing right now. This zone needs to hold. It would be nice to actually test that low, get a bit of a shaky out scenario. And that is a decision area, guys. I'm going to take a decision here. If you get a reaction and get back above it, managing risk very well. Stop loss is going to be here. If stop loss is not hit, and that I do know that there is a chance of rallying to the highs. So I want to take advantage of that. If this is broken, I ain't going to have limit longs here, guys. Don't worry about me. I'm worried about you. I'm worried about people that take this information, like you said, we were going to bounce from this zone, and I randomly longed in this area. Well, obviously you didn't pay attention, right? So that's an interesting area. If you break down from here, I am seriously looking for the choppiness in this zone. Once you get this at levels of support, the double, triple bottoms, like explained here also on Monday, are going to be very lucrative for a high probability local bounce at a bare minimum, regardless if this bounce is going to be higher or not. But at least sweep up the internal lower highs of the grinding structure is most common. So double, triple bottoms here is going to be very, very interesting at these zones of support. Let's break down the bullish case. Okay, let's break down. Let's say that we bounce from this, naked point of control, because that's where we bounced with the yesterday's drop, right? We've got a high volume node and we just wicked into that level. And that's where we bounced. This is for the aggressive traders, anybody that is feeling snipey. If you want to snipe a naked point of control, then you had one yesterday, just to make some, quick profits. There's no clarity, of course. You might have some people long in here. As explained, I cannot long this range expecting the highs to be taken. So if you're scalping, man, I would take these movements as scalps. If you want to get into a double bottom here, I'm getting out on a little bounce, right? I'm not speculating that this is the one that's going to come up to the highs. So this range is really for scalping at the moment, because you got the bearish case, multiple 1-2s, and you got the bullish case, which could be a complex WXY structure. There's lots of overlap. It is very, very complex, I have to say. Not really too interested in this area still, in this range. We need to go lower. We need to hit this zone. That could bounce. If it doesn't bounce, then obviously we're looking for the move down. If the price moves to the upside, what if the price moves up? All of your silly levels and your predictions did not play out. So we bounced from here. So that was a waste of time. Well, it's just creating a plan, guys, right? It's creating a plan. I want to get out of the zone to speculate on levels where it could bounce. There's one here and there's one here. However, this one is going to take a bit of time to prove itself, right? On those 4-5s. If you have multiple 1-2s in this zone and it breaks down, this is going to take a little bit of time to at least get 1-4-5 and then start speculating on the local double bottoms. So it's plans, right? It's creating plans. If the price does move up from here, what do we have? Your stupid levels on the chart did not work. We got a bounce. What now? Well, yeah, we need to talk about that, right? We need to talk on the speculation that, oh, yeah, the price bounces up from here. Well, just as explained on today's video update, the levels of resistance, you look no further. We have, 95.7k is a weekly naked point of control. That's a big range. Well, range. We've got a big zone here from 2 weeks ago. There's got an extreme high volume node. This very high volume node is sitting at the 95 point, give or take, right now. Yeah, it's slightly higher, the highest one, 95.7. And that area is muy interesante. However, there's two takes on this. Could the price do 1-2, one very shallow 2, and start flying here? Absolutely. Absolutely. Of course it can do that. And it slices through all of this major resistance zone that we've been talking about for over a week. Your stupid damn levels of resistance didn't do anything, you numbnut. You are here on YouTube trying to talk about these resistance where we can reject and the price only broke them through. Explain right now. Well, we would have to come to the conclusion that, you've had a 1-2, 1-2 and it breaks in 3. But there is a way. There is a way on detecting that the price could, if it is going to top out from here, there is a way eventually to detect the topping signal. And it's literally this price action right over here. It's literally this, but from this point. From wherever it happens, it doesn't matter. From whichever low is in, if you move up to the 95, 96k, like this, which is like this, but obviously, breaking it down, eventually, I will realize that the biggest move has happened already in the middle, right? Just like here. You got the first movements, the big move, and then you chop, right, into some resistance, and then you reverse. So if that move happens, I wouldn't be too worried about the price here, shooting through. Obviously, you need to manage risk. This is the moment that you're interested in kind of local double tops into resistance. Remember, we got that major pivot lower high here also. On the daily, even you got a few lower highs, so it can be. But once you get the choppiness, which is literally what happened here in the last couple of days, you understand that a reversal is very, very likely. So that's how the price action needs to move. I need a little bounce. I need the price to break through here, with high volume. I need a big high volume node. I need this. And then I need the range. That's the range is where it's like, okay, guys, we've swept all of that liquidity, which there is quite a bit above 94k, guys. There is quite a bit of liquidity up there. It would be nice to go, sweep it. And obviously, it would be a zone that I would not be interested in longing, FOMO longing here. It would be a zone that I would be interested in shorting. So I need this kind of price action. Do we have a bearish case scenario that the price rolls over from here successfully? There is one. However, I don't like it extremely much. I don't like it much. What am I talking about here? I don't like it too much. That would be not this one. That would be a WXY double zigzag, which you have your wave W here, X and Y, where you need to obviously accept that this has a potential of being a zigzag up, corrective three-wave structure and wave X, and then this is your finished wave, and this at some point forms a higher low here, and then you get your ABC. So it would be zigzag, corrective structure and X, and another zigzag. However, there is a problem with this situation, and it lowers the probability because your wave X was too deep. In a WXY double zigzag, your wave X most commonly bounces at the 382, 50% Fibonacci. Wave X is usually quite shallow, and having it so deep below the golden pocket, it just decreases the probability that what you're looking at is some kind of a double zigzag. So it is possible, but the probabilities are not great. So, if you were to come down to all of that resistance, as mentioned, at the 90, 95.7, 96, sweeping up those lower highs on the higher time frame, which we have right over here, which they are liquidity grabs, right? This one and this one did get a rejection, right? This is where we rejected, literally, right? So eventually you could be looking for a rejection, especially if the price moves like this in the next coming days. Right, you need that exhaustion, big move up, and then that exhaustion into that 4-5 scenario for the reversal. And this could be classed as a double zigzag. It's really a matter of being patient here on the 15-minute time frame, really understanding that, guys. If you want a clear detail, you need to go back on Monday's stream, I think it was, or video update. I think it was a stream, basically, where we talked about high probability bounce from here, at least to sweep up the highs. Obviously understanding the potential that this could be a three-wave down, but this is where we're like, okay, guys, double bottoms are interesting. Manage risk. Make sure, if you're going to enter this, if you're going to enter this idea, stop loss goes beneath the wick. If we do a live stream and we have this price action, yeah, don't worry. I'll be saying, guys, it's time to look for double tops, stop at the highs. If you get stopped out, attempt another one. You're managing risk. If this is going to really dip down later on, you cover your stop losses, no problem at all, right? Don't be too worried about a stop loss or one or two. When the big move happens, you are covered, literally, right? So the only issue with this scenario is that your wave X, it was too deep. And it's not common to get a deep X wave hitting below the golden pocket in a double zigzag. Okay, so the 70% Fibonacci is literally, it's not an invalidation. It just lowers the probability for a double zigzag. Double zigzags are usually very, very sharp, and your wave X's usually get down to the 382, 50%. That's the common area for sharp double zigzags, and this doesn't look too sharp at all. So I would be interested in shorts at this zone. It's just depending on how we get up there. You need to understand, if you get a big move up and a correction and then another move that just flies, you're just not interested if volume starts increasing, guys. If you've increased with volume, right, you're just not interested in doing anything. You need to have some kind of a 5-wave structure into that zone to say, okay, we can reject now. But if you literally bounce up, correct, and then start moving up like this, with increasing volume, you just want to stay away, right? Just say it's not my cup of tea here. Where I want to participate in increasing volume into the zone. So that's how the price needs to move. Other bullish scenario, of course, if we were to move up from here, somewhere in this region, unless we break down as explained, okay? Remember, if we break down from here, what I'm looking at is for that grinding structure in this zone of support, and then the bounce is going to be the opportunity zone to get in, for me to get into shorts to claim it below 80k. This is the wave that I want to get into once we get that clarity. So will it move like this or not? We're going to have to, you know, look at the price action and the information that the chart gives us. So I'm interested in the bearish case, guys, but we just need to talk about the different alternatives. So if we do not form a WXY double zigzag, you know, there is always that chance of the price being bullish. You know, 1 2 1 2, you know, and 1 2, and then, you know, this movement down is extremely choppy and overlappy. Holy smokes, guys, you know, this might be building up an explosive breakout in the next coming weeks. So we're gonna have to, you know, if you're not in longs from here, if it does bounce, well, we're gonna have to look for longs, you know, later on once we got that movement developed. Okay, so anyway, pay attention to these zones. All right, this is a very, very interesting area. Fair value gaps, be cautious. This is the defensive zone, guys. This is the defensive zone. If you move up from here, not to worry. I've got a plan. 5 wave up, big resistance. I am expecting a rollover here after a bit of choppiness. If we do get down from here and reclaim that 90.2k, just because it's the first higher low of the fair value gap, it could hold, which is with the 382 Fibonacci. I would treat it as a shallow pullback, but sometimes people are waiting for lower to get into longs, and maybe you bounce from here out of nowhere. So it's a good zone. You either lose it aggressively or it holds and it could bounce. If you lose it, I won't be in the trade, guys. You know, it's as simple as that. It's where you need to manage, where you need to exit. I was wrong about this. Oh my goodness, we're losing it. Fair value gap, no volume, no support. I need to get out, right? I need to get out. You just need to have a stop loss. You need a reaction here, basically, to get in. A bit confusing, a little bit of too many scenarios, but what can we say? What can we say? Like I said, you know, I'm currently in no trade. I did get into some longs throughout 2 weeks ago in this momentum. I did manage to short this movement down. Long this zone as well. I got into short here, got stopped out. I got into a short also here and did get stopped out. Basically the SFP, I got wicked out. And with this price action that we had yesterday, unfortunately, it is what it is. We're a bit defensive, but what can we say? It is what it is. And I'm currently in no trade at all. No trade at all. So I just need the price to get out of the zone. This is an interesting level. This is an interesting area. Breakdown, boom, boom, boom. We'll be looking for intraday longs. If you do get that bounce, I would be aware that this is likely bearish. It's an impulse. We're looking for a lower high and move lower. If we were to bounce from here, I need that 5-wave structure into resistance. Big volume in the middle, then choppiness into the resistance. That's where I'm looking for shorts. We need to adapt as day traders, guys. Right now, this zone is a little bit too choppy. I'm just not interested in doing anything here. And that's what happens a lot of the times. Sometimes you just need to remain patient, have a plan outside of the box. And that's what I have. I have plans outside of the box, not inside the box at the moment. Any breakout traders, you would say, okay, well, we got a wedge here. Okay, it's a descending wedge. And we're going to break out. Well, I would say, if you know how to trade this, I'm not a fan of these wedgie scenarios. You know, imagine getting into a wedge, you know, here. It's a descending wedge. And it's going to break up. You get the deal. I mean, if you know how to trade that, then obviously go ahead and do it, right? If you can manage risk. Not much more than I can say, guys. We need to get out of the box for me to get into a successful trade. I'm not giving the probabilities either for the bulls or the bears here. You know, I'm pretty neutral. And as a trader, we need to be neutral a lot of the times when we don't see a high probability movement. I would not, you know, could this still be a wave 4? It is extending too much in time. You know, I'm already not giving the probabilities of this to be a wave 4. It's too long. It's extending too much. I'm not counting on it. So would I give probabilities on multiple 1-2s? I'm not, because your third, fourth 1-2 is getting longer in time and price action. So I'm not giving the probabilities for the bears. so you get the deal, right? You know, when you have a few scenarios here that are decreasing in probabilities, such as for the bullish and the bearish, you just need to stay neutral. You need to get out of the box. You need to start hitting some levels outside of the box and understand where you don't need to get into a trade. Understand the levels of interest. Once you get down here, I'm interested in longs in this zone. I'm interested in shorts in this zone if we get that 5-wave move up, right? We just need to get out, guys, from this zone. At least for me anyway. Let me know in the comment section, what are you looking at? And if anybody is interested, like I mentioned, no trades at the moment for me. Bluffing is one of the greatest platforms for trading, in my opinion. They're highly liquid and you get some great perks, okay, down below. They got some great perks down below, as you can see here, and you can read. And if you use that link, you are eligible for those perks, guys. Bluffing is absolutely phenomenal. It's the first link down below. And of course, second link, you have the decentralized option, which is Velto, which is insane, guys. Anybody that does not want any middleman, you have Velto. No middleman. You can go with Velto. It connects directly to your wallet. Okay, you have a massive liquidity pool, and it's perfect because I know a lot of people are very skeptical of having their funds or trading with their funds, you know, big, large ones, right, into these centralized platforms. And this is very much, in my opinion, going to be the next hyper liquid. Okay, I do support this. They're getting a lot of attention. So anybody that is interested in trading in a decentralized platform, Velto is a very, very good option. Very highly liquid for Bitcoin and Ethereum mainly. Of course, liquidity is pretty decent on altcoins as well. And you just connect to the wallet, no middleman, which obviously takes that risk off, right, for whatever happens to the platform. Let's say what happens here. Anybody in longs, shorts, do you see 75k still a possible target? Absolutely. You know, I just need to let you understand that the trend is down, okay? The trend is down from all-time high. The bounces are still very three-wavy structures, and we have a 3-wave here that could be completed. This could be an ABC, literally. It could be an ABC in the most simple way. 3-wave up, it's valid. And you have a clear 5-wave move up here, as explained. So, you know, now is the speculation. You know, I am leaning on more the trend, because the trend, they say, is your friend. And, you know, without a doubt, from all-time high, the trend is bearish. And we don't have, you know, confidence that this is, you know, a start of a bullish structure, which is, you know, it can be. This is why we speculate on it. A double 1-2 here is very, very possible. But we would have to hold, in my opinion. We would have to move down, you know, as explained. You know, if we do get that move breakdown, and this, you know, another scenario here, as explained in today's video update, you know, if you move down from here and you suddenly get a massive bounce, we have high volume and you don't get that choppiness to create that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 impulse, then look no further, guys. You know, if you do get this movement, this is going to be detected as a corrective structure, and longs will be looked for. Don't worry, you know, we are here. We will say, guys, there's high probability in taking out the high, just like a few days ago in this little range, right? Who remembers this? Who was here of you guys, of you legends? I mean, we talked about long in this area. You know, if you want to get into a long on a higher low here, or you want to look for a double bottom, it's an acceptable long to take out the highs. the probabilities were higher to take out these local highs. Once we got this information, this was live on stream, we got the pump instantly. With, high probability these highs are likely going to be hit in the next 1 to 2 days, so give or take. This range could continue. We could form a flat and then a triangle and then take up the highs, or we could just literally just grind up. And this is why it was speculative. If you were to long on a higher low here in this region with stop at the low, if you were to get stopped out, we talked about this, you can speculate on a double bottom here, because it would be a possible flat and then either a triangle or another internal flat here and then take out the highs, or just grinding up to take out the highs anyway. So this explanation is literally the same thing but on the higher time frame, right? Because right now what you do have is, I would treat this as a one wave move down. It's a one wave move down. If you move down from here and then you get this could be very, very bullish, guys. And if this turns out to be a 112, holy smokes, guys. If you're not holding longs from lower, I'm going to be looking to get into aggressive longs. We'll try and detect this scenario, because this has the potential of flying if this is a detectable three-wave structure. Still early, as mentioned, that fair value gap pivot has the possibility. So it's going to be interesting to see how we react at that 382 Fibonacci and the first higher lows, right, on the 1 hourly time frame. First higher lows here on the 1 hourly, first higher low, sorry, of that fair value gap at the 382 Fibonacci. It's going to be interesting, because I would say that there could be the potential. If we hit that level and reclaim it, I would really speculate on a small position at this zone, because then if you do bounce from here, and then suddenly in the next coming weeks you just fly, everybody's gonna be like, what happened? I thought we were bearish. Well, we need to have some kind of a position. If we hold this zone, if we lose it, then down we go. It is, the bearish scenario. It has higher probability eventually. Legends, it is Friday. Make sure to enjoy the weekend. Me too, bro. Got stopped out. What did you do? I'm not interested in any trading where we are at the moment. As explained, there is a nice cluster between 90 and 91K to take. Nice cluster at night. Yeah. It's an interesting zone. It's an interesting area to take that pivot. That was explained. If we do react at this zone, we need to take it with a pinch of salt, guys. On the higher time frame, we do have that risk of this being an ABC finished, building multiple 1-2s here, and boom, nuking down. So it's not a zone that I would be interested in building longs, without a doubt, because obviously on the higher time frame we got a 3-wave up. This double 1-2 scenario is very, very speculative. Legends, thank you very much for joining. It is Friday. Thank you very much. Staffer One, much love to you, brother. As always, Staffer here, the absolute legend moderator. Legends, Nico, Margaret, Loza, Delon, Rich, much love to everybody. It is Friday. Andy, I have a question. Does CVD divergence work on total market cap excluding stables? I would say no. I would say total market cap, CVD divergence. I'm not. Yeah. Could it work? I mean, total market cap is giving you an average of the market capitalization of all the coins. If there is a platform that actually can tell you how many longs and shorts are entering throughout a combination of all of the cryptos and give you a general point of view, it probably would. It probably would work if there is that platform that does that. I do not know if there is any legit one. Andre, much love. Fat Dollar. Guys, much love to everybody, okay? It is Friday. I'm driving. Smash the like button. Sing games. Don't do that. Don't drive and watch. Concentrate, my man. I don't want no accidents. Guys, thank you very much for joining, okay? It is Friday. Make sure to enjoy the weekend. We got some levels, some scenarios. I want to get out of the zone for a new trade. Check out the links down below, guys. Those platforms are absolutely awesome. Bluffin has a great deal, as you can see. And obviously you have the decentralized option, which is Velto, which is the second link. Okay. Thank you. They do have very low fees, by the way. Thank you, legends. Take care. I'll see you in the next video or live stream.